So hearing people gas up and hype up the movie Bring Her Back, I finally checked it out. Does it live up to the hype? Well, today we're going to talk about it. So let's get spooky. Greetings, everyone. My name is Nightshade. This is The Night Shift, a home for all things spooky, and today we're taking a look at Bring Her Back, released in 2025. So this movie has had so much hype behind it, and people just singing the praises of this film, and every time that happens, I go and check out the movie, and it never really lives up to the hype that is behind it. At least not for me and my horror expectations. So when this movie finally came to streaming, I went and checked it out with cautious optimism. And I'm happy to say that, you know, for the most part, this movie mostly lives up to the hype. There's a couple things that could be tweaked, but all in all, this is a spot-on movie. Like, I can understand why people are so hyped about it. And I'm very much looking forward to talking about it. So let's go ahead and do just that. For this video, I'm going to be breaking it down into three categories: the positives, the negatives, and the gray area. Let you know what I liked about this film, what I didn't like about this film, and what I was indifferent on. Then when we're done with that, I will talk to you about my favorite scene and let you know exactly why it is my favorite scene. And then when we're done with that, we're going to score this movie out of a possible 10 points and end the video. But here on The Night Shift, we always start things off on the bright side with the story, and storytelling is the big star of the show with this one for me. So Andy and Piper, who are siblings, well, kind of, they're step siblings. They go up for adoption after their dad passes away in the shower. They get adopted by a crazy woman named Laura. Now, Laura lost her daughter, who was close to Piper's age. And the thing that Piper and Laura's daughter had in common was that they are both blind. And as the story progressively unfolds, we find out just how batshit crazy Laura is. She's in the middle of doing a ritual that would body swap Piper's body with her daughter's body. So essentially, Laura's daughter would be living in Piper's body as like a reincarnation via this weird demonic ritual that she is performing. And you know, that's just the bare bones of the story. You can go watch the movie for yourself. It is now available on streaming. Highly recommend checking it out because this is a solid movie. One of the main reasons I love the story is because the concept is original. I don't see a whole lot of films doing this type of concept. Not to mention the way they tell the story and the way everything slowly starts to unfold, and you see how crazy Laura actually is and what the fuck is going on. And there's just so much good storytelling in this. Like, if you've not seen this, do not let me spoil it and go watch it for yourself. Pause this video and go watch it and then come back and we can have a discussion in the comments below about how awesome this thing was. We get an original story, great storytelling, and an original concept, so that absolutely had to go on the positives list. Moving right along into my next positive, we have I absolutely love the cast of this movie. I think that everybody crushed their respective roles. I was genuinely invested in everybody in this movie, and that's not something that usually happens in films. Like, there's always that one person where I'm just like, fuck you, get out of the movie. Like, you're ruining the fucking movie, you're ruining my experience, but that was not the case with this film. Sally Hawkins, who plays Laura, does a great job of being an unhinged character, an unlikable character, but also being a completely sympathetic character as well. She fucking nailed it. I thought her performance was probably the best in my opinion because she has so much range throughout this film. The guy that played Andy, I thought he was great in this film as well. I genuinely felt bad for the dude because like nothing was going his way and it just continues to not go his way, and you feel bad for the dude, but you can also understand where he's coming from with a lot of this shit. You know, he just wants to make sure his sister's okay and does his best to make sure that she is okay, and I loved him. I loved him in this film. And then we got Piper, who is just an extremely adorable character in this. You know, she is the innocence in this film, and also visually impaired. She can't see, she's blind, and she's just adorably sweet in this film, and you feel really bad whenever shit starts unfolding. You're just all like, God, no. And then of course we got Oliver, who is the mute demon-possessed kid in this one, and he plays the stoicism and just he doesn't have to say anything. This guy is like Michael Myers in this film. Doesn't have to say anything, and he just sits there and stares at you like if I was going to film another Halloween movie, he would be my child Michael Myers, because this kid just gives off this eerie vibe, and he doesn't have to say anything. He just looks at a camera a certain way, and it just makes you feel uneasy. And yeah, no, the kid that played Oliver fucking crushed it as well. And yeah, just the whole cast in this film was excellent casting. I think if anybody dropped the ball a little bit, it wouldn't be as good. So everybody brought their A game, and everybody did a phenomenal job with this movie. So, casting absolutely had to go on my positives list, because fuck. This is one of the most beautifully shot films of the year, in my opinion. I haven't seen every horror film that came out this year, but when it comes to horror, this is like top of my list for best shot films, because this thing is fucking gorgeous. And I love that they keep shooting through circles, which, the circle is part of the ritual, and keeping everything contained within the circle to make the ritual work. And, you just see little foreshadowings with circles and circular shots. Not to mention the B-roll is some of the best that I've seen in a while. I actually loved the B-roll in this. Now, if you don't know what B-roll is, it's just like, I don't want to say filler shots, but it's shots that kind of let you know what's happening. It's a way to transition from one scene into the next. For instance, it starts raining, so they show shots of like the circle getting wet, the big painted circle getting wet, just to let you know that it is in fact raining outside. I thought the B-roll shots in this were on top of everything as well. I thought it was it's just a beautifully shot film. Like, I fucking love cinematography. To mention, the guys that made this movie all started out here on YouTube, so their cinematography was inspiring to me, and I thought that the cinematography in this film in particular was done beautifully well. One of my favorite shots is whenever Laura's making the circle out of blood and the camera follows the circle. Loved that shot, but it's not my favorite scene though, so we'll save that for the end of the video. So, without a doubt, cinematography had to go on my positives list. Moving right along into my next positive, we have, like I was stating in the casting, the kid that played Oliver did an amazing job, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about that here on the positives list. Not just his acting, but I also wanted to talk about the makeup of Oliver. So in this film, Laura ends up kidnapping a kid and using him as a vessel for a demon. Now, this demon is going to soul transfer, I forget Laura's daughter's name, Kathy, I think is what it was. I'll put it here on the screen in post-production of this video, but her daughter died. This demon is going to consume her dead daughter and carry the soul in its belly and then puke it into Piper, and that's how they do the soul transfer. And as this movie progresses, his makeup gets better and better and better, to the point where he looks like a bloated, rotting corpse, and I fucking loved it. And I know I titled this chapter Oliver, but really it's the makeup that they put on Oliver and some of the practical effects that they use with Oliver. There is a scene in this that genuinely made me want to crawl out of my own skin. It was so visceral and so well executed that it ended up being my favorite scene in this movie. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about, but if you haven't seen the movie and you're still watching this for whatever reason, we'll talk about that at the end of the video. All right, so with that being said, let's go ahead and move into the middle ground. Something that's not good enough to be a positive, but not bad enough to be a negative. It's in the middle somewhere, and that's going to be So I don't hate the ending of this movie. I really don't, but I feel like we needed more, if that makes sense. Like, I'm glad Laura got her comeuppance, but I don't feel like she got them good enough. I feel like Laura should have been brutally murdered, since she's been doing all these awful things. But instead, she gets to rip her own arm open and die with her daughter in her arms in the pool in her backyard. And that bothered me. I feel like it should have been something more heinous than that, because, you know, she's been an awful human being throughout this film. I wanted to see her get royally fucked up, and just, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. She died in a poetic way by her own hand, and I feel like it should have been something more. Another thing that bothers me about the ending is that Andy actually does die in this film, and, you know, that poor kid went through hell and didn't get any, you know, justifiable revenge. You know, I don't mind that he died, but I feel like he should have got a little something for all of his trouble in this film, because, like, he goes through some shit. I mean, he goes through some piss, that's for sure. But I feel like his character should have gotten, like, one satisfactory fuck you. I would have enjoyed it if, you know, after he got hit, he faked being dead, and whenever Laura's trying to drown Piper, if he would have, you know, fucking used the last bit of energy that he had and died killing Laura, that would have felt more satisfactory. But, you know, not all movies have a good happy ending, and, you know, I'm a huge fan of downer endings, but this one just left me wanting more. Like, had the ritual gone off and nobody got a happy ending other than Laura, I would have been satisfied with that. Or, you know, Laura getting absolutely annihilated by the siblings, I would have been satisfied with that. But no, instead we get, like, okay ending. It's not bad. I don't hate the ending, but I don't love the ending. So that's why it made it here on the gray area, where it's not bad, but it's not good. It's in the middle. And that's just about going to do it for the gray area. And now we move on to the not so bright side of things with... Honestly, I don't really have any negatives for this film. I thought this was a really, really good movie. I have issues with the ending, but other than the ending, I think that this film actually lived up to the hype, which is surprising to say, because, you know, films like Longlegs got so hyped up and I was expecting it to be this grand thing, and it just wasn't. Like, it's not a bad movie, but it just didn't live up to the hype for me. And this film right here, you know, people were spouting off that this is a disturbing movie and one of the coolest things to hit horror in a long time, and I would have to agree. Other than the ending, I think that this movie did live up to the hype, because there's a lot of what the fuck is going on happening in this film, and that's not something that I'm used to. Normally, whenever it comes to horror, you can kind of see where the story beat's going, but this one, I had no idea what was coming next. I didn't know how it was going to pop off. I didn't know the next move, and that's something that is extremely refreshing, because, you know, when you've been watching horror for as long as I have, I've been watching this shit since I was 6 years old, and I am very much not 6 years old anymore. You know, you start to know what's going to happen and what's going to come next. So whenever you see something that genuinely takes you by surprise, it's refreshing, and I'm happy to say, I'm genuinely happy to say that, yeah, this movie just almost lived up to the hype for me. Like, there's just that little bit at the end that I felt it needed more, but other than that, it was a solid film. So with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to our next segment, which is... So my favorite scene in this film is going to be the knife in the mouth.
I'm gonna get your plane. Oh, Laura, yelling at me, making a mess.
That shit genuinely caught me off guard, genuinely made me go, oh! Normally when it comes to a visual gag like that, it doesn't bother me. You know, my brain knows that I'm watching a movie. My brain knows how a lot of these effects are done, because I've been obsessed with, you know, movie effects for many years. I used to buy books and books of how it's done, you know, back when I was a kid. I also bought a bunch of VHSs and DVDs on, you know, like how these effects are achieved. So normally it doesn't bother me, but this scene in particular had me like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Caught me off guard. And a lot of that is, you know, just the visual jump cut and the close-up of it, and then the sound design, and it really tricked my brain into thinking like, oh shit, like it made me go, oh, and that never happens. So, you know, whenever I do see it happen, It's definitely going to be on my favorites list because what the fuck. All right, so let's go ahead and score this thing and get out of here. Whenever it comes to Bring Her Back, I'm going to give this film a solid 8.5 to a 9 out of 10 because this film was really fucking good. Could it have been improved upon? Yeah, just a little bit. Just if we would have had a little bit of a better ending, this would have been a perfect film for me. Other than that, yeah, man, this film absolutely kicked ass and took me by surprise. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did, but yeah, I fucking love it. So that's just about gonna do it for me. If you like the video, let me know by leaving me a like. Comment down below what you want to see on the channel next. I will do my best to accommodate, I really will. And until next time, my name is Nightshade. This has been The Night Shift, and I will see you in the next video. Stay spooky, my friends.